Are you ready for plastic-free seed starting that's better for the plants, better for the pocketbook, and better for the planet?
You need soil blocking, and it's easier than everyone thinks. I'm gonna show you all the mistakes I made when I first started so you can skip that part. Hi guys, I'm April from Resprout. Like and subscribe for more garden tips and tutorials from my suburban front yard garden where I help you garden like a boss.
The first mistake is not necessarily a mistake, but it is something that can cause frustration down the line, and that is not how we want our soil blocking journey to go. And this is choosing the wrong soil blocker size.
There's a lot of brands out there, but for the most part, you'll see the 2-inch blocks, 3/4 inch blocks, and 4-inch blocks. These tiny ones are good if you need to start a lot of seeds or if you don't have a lot of space for germination. The big drawback is you have to transfer them to bigger sizes. This process is called potting up, and you'll have to do that pretty soon after they germinate or you'll stunt their growth. This big one is good for big plants with extensive root systems that need to be indoors for a while, like tomatoes or zucchini. These soil blocks take up a lot of room if you plan to start hundreds of tomato plants like I do every year. The 2-inch soil blocker is the one I use for everything. I don't need to pot anything up except for the tomatoes, which I'll be honest, I usually let outgrow their block a little and then just plant them outside.
Another issue is not choosing a soil blocker with dibblers.
That's these little inserts that make the seed hole for you.
Let me tell you, this may seem a minor inconvenience to make seed holes, but when you are looking at a ton of trays, suddenly you're going to be very thankful that they all have holes already.
If you do have to make holes, be careful because if you press too hard, you could split the block into pieces. Another tip, if you know you'll be potting up smaller blocks into larger ones, look for soil blocker sets. Ladbrooke, for instance, makes a set where the smaller soil blocks can go inside the holes on the larger ones. That really makes potting up easy if that's the route you go.
Having the wrong container when you're mixing your soil is also going to make this a very arduous process.
Besides being waterproof, you'll want something with flat and high sides. The flat sides will help with packing and scraping the soil blocker. The high sides will help with scooping, and they'll also allow you to mix a decent amount of soil at a time so you don't have to stop too often. I used to use this tiny plastic storage box, but finally upgraded to what I truly believe to be the most useful garden tool ever, a large plastic storage bin. They do make standing soil blockers where the soil is meant to be stored directly on a flat surface like a cement floor. I'm super intrigued by these because they can make a lot more soil blocks in one go. But it only takes me a few hours to make all my blocks for the whole season, so I'm not sure I'm ready for an upgrade yet.
One big mistake and probably the most confusing thing about soil blocks is what soil to use for the soil blocker.
There's a lot of recipes and people out there trying to freak you out about what is and what is not a good soil mix. But you can boil it all down to 2 things. A good soil blocking mixture is fine-grained and absorbs and holds water. That is it. You can use a whole combination of things like compost, peat moss, coconut fiber, vermiculite, perlite, and more. You can buy an off-the-shelf seed starting mix, though I've had mixed results with these. A lot of people say you can't use potting soil, but that's what I use. So no fancy mixing required. Just try to use a brand that has smaller particle sizes.
This is the one that I use. It's called Nature's Care from Miracle Grow, and I get it at my local big box store.
This one is a little more finer grained right here, and all the rest of these you can see how they have little bits of things in there like pieces of bark, wood chips. I'm definitely liking the first mix that I did better. That being said, this coarser potting soil will still work. Absolutely. It will just be a little tougher to get soil contact with the seed.
Another big mistake is not using fertilizer of some kind.
Seeds are amazing little packages and have everything they need to germinate. But experts agree that while they're still young, they could use a little help from us in the form of fertilizer. If the mix you're using already has fertilizer in it, you're good to go. If it doesn't, you can mix in a powdered or granular fertilizer before you make the soil blocks. Or you can add fertilizer after you make the blocks by adding it to your watering solution. Just make sure your fertilizer is not too smelly for indoor use.
Let me tell you, there are some real stinkers out there. Another thing I would definitely avoid is not using gloves.
The reason why is because these soil blockers are not the smoothest of tools. Even if they were, if, like me, you're making a lot of blocks in one go, and if, like me, you have baby hands, you are definitely opening yourself up to blisters. You'll also be using your hands to do a lot of soil packing, so they're going to get super dirty. When I'm starting seeds in winter, I will even put a pair of latex gloves underneath my garden gloves, just so my fingers don't freeze from contact with all that water for an extended period of time.
Another big mistake is letting the soil be too dry.
The water is the magic binder that holds it all together. The wetter it is and the tighter you pack it in, the smoother the block is going to be. You have to add a lot more water to your soil than you think to get it to the proper wetness. Like that, right there is not holding together. Maybe a little tiny bit, but barely. It's mostly just a lot of this. You'll know that you have the right consistency when you pick up a clump of soil, squeeze it, and water runs out between your fingers.
Another mistake is making it too wet.
If it's so sloppy and muddy, it won't stay in the soil blocker or the soil blocks pancake in the tray, you've gone too far.
If it's too wet, just add more soil.
I always hold back a portion of my soil mix for this reason. If you already mixed all of your soil in your bin already though, you're gonna have to go shopping again.
Another mistake I see is if you don't mix the soil consistently. Sometimes there's gonna be like really wet pockets or really dry pockets, and that's not gonna help you when you get to those spots. Favorite tool for this is actually a good old-fashioned hoe.
That's if I have the bin on the ground and it's a big bin. If you have a smaller bin or it's on a table, a hand hoe works great too. Can you use your hands? Absolutely, but it's not a small amount of work and a tool definitely makes it easier. If you've hand kneaded bread, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Here's a mistake that I made for many years. I actually did this stuff on the ground and I destroyed my back. Just bending down, getting up, bending down. So definitely make sure you put this at hip level, up on a table, sawhorses, something.
The best way is to set it up like an assembly line. Soil bag and water on one end, then your bin, then your current tray, and at the other end, your stack of finished trays. I used to seed each tray as I made the blocks. Though satisfying, it's more efficient if you make all your blocks in one go and then add the seeds later. The reason why is because you need completely different tools, setup, location, and mindset for these two activities. What's great about soil blocks is you can make them all and they can sit for weeks, completely dried out until you're ready to rehydrate them and seed. So don't be shy about making extra trays. Speaking of trays,
one mistake is not having trays that are tall enough to contain the blocks and make sure they get enough water.
I use these 2.5-inch tall stainless steel hotel pans.
If you guys want to complete your plastic reseed starting setup, these guys are clutch and you can get these on my website.
When I fill these trays about half full with water, that is usually perfect for moistening a full tray of mature seedling. You could probably go as short as 1.5 inches, but I definitely wouldn't go any lower than that, especially if you're using heat mats, which make the water evaporate even faster. Another thing to watch out for is the bottom of the trays. The channels on the typical 10-20 trays will actually deform the bottom of the soil blocks over time or make them tip over. The best trays for soil blocks have smooth bottoms, which keeps all the blocks level and evenly hydrated.
Another mistake is not packing each block completely.
This and not enough water are the main reasons soil blocks fall apart in the tray. So when I say pack, it is tight, way tighter than you think any plant would rightfully want to live. You'll know it's tight enough when you can't squeeze any more soil in. You'll need to pack it more than once, so keep going.
That's what I did to this row, basically. I think I forgot to do my second pack. This is why it's so much shorter than the other 2 rows. Another mistake is letting the soil blocker get too dirty.
You'll know this is an issue if chunks of your soil blocks are missing. This is usually a symptom of 2 things, dry soil or coarse soil. Soil that's too dry will stick to the soil blocker instead of sticking to itself and forming nice smooth blocks. Soil that's too coarse with sticks and barks and big pieces will get jammed up in there. If the soil is too dry, get it wetter. And either way, rinse out the soil blocker before you do the next batch.
If your soil blocker comes with dibblers, you guys do not lose them. As previously discussed, making your own holes suck.
For that reason, I finally bought a spare pack of extra dibblers. It depends on your brand, but if the soil is too dry, my soil blocker has a couple that get randomly loose, and I've lost a few that way. So just keep an eye out because they might come out and end up in your soil and then you'll never find them.
Here's another mistake, not having the right technique.
Don't do this and keep packing the one and then keep packing the second one, keep packing that way, keep packing, and then don't grab this and try to stuff it in there. Don't do that. Like, dude, you're gonna be here all freaking day.
Here's my technique. 1 giant scoop against the side of the bin. Use 2 fingers to hard pack into each block, once only. Do a second giant scoop against the side of the bin. For the final pack, use the flat of your palm along the length 2 to 3 times depending on the size of your palm. Again, baby hands are not helpful here. Then scrape the sides and bottom with 1 motion, possibly twice if your soil is coarse.
This is one tool that I have tried to make part of this system. It's for masonry and it has a nice flat edge, and I try to use that to scrape, but it doesn't do that great of a job. And more importantly, after you do this and you need to scrape, it doesn't scrape the sides. And doing the sides is also really important.
The reason why is because anything on the sides of the soil blocker will interfere with the blocks in your tray. So next, put the blocker on the floor of the tray. Do a double or triple half squeeze to gently ease the blocks out. Then use the side of the clean blocker to slide them next to your last row. That's to save space.
Once you have your soil blocks made, another mistake to watch out for is not having good seed to soil contact.
You can pat down the soil when you're done seeding. That's one way to solve this. Or you can water from the top, which settles the soil. That can get kind of messy indoors though, so I avoid that. Me, I drop the seeds in the soil and then quickly go through with the back end of a pencil eraser and gently press them into the bottom of the holes. I pour perlite into the holes after that. Perlite is easier than soil mix to work with because it's super light and finely grained. I can pour it into an old seed envelope and can quickly just go down the rows and top off all the holes. And the perlite easily wicks moisture from the surrounding soil, keeping the seeds moist.
A bad germination environment is going to be an issue for all seed starting situations, whether you're starting in pots, in flats, in plug trays, or soil blocks.
So what we're talking about mainly here is temperature and moisture. You want your blocks to be moist at all times, and you want the temperature to be in the right range for that crop. For most veggies, room temperature is fine, but if you want a more detailed breakdown of different temperatures and how long different seeds take to germinate, you can download a free seeding guide on my website.
Okay, no, don't laugh at me. This is cheesy, but the biggest mistake, honestly, guys, is not getting started. There is no excuse. Just try.
I hope this video helped you out. Remember to sign up for my email newsletter for more garden resources. And keep gardening like a boss, and I'll see you guys soon.